Azure Container Apps lets you run containers without managing infrastructure, but securing your workloads is crucial. What we have discussed in the security for Azure container instances to some extent is applicable in this case as well. When it comes to container, it's same security practices. But still, let's discuss what you need to do to keep your Azure Container Apps deployment safe. Your containers rely on images stored in a repository. While you can pull images from public registries like a Docker Hub, these may contain security vulnerabilities. Instead, you should use private registry like Azure Container Registry to control access and security. Why this matters? Because public images increase security risk, such as may contain malware or outdated dependencies. Private registries such as ACA, Docker Trusted Registry, will give you better control over access. ACR supports Microsoft Entra authentication and role-based access control, so you can limit access to only authorized users. Bottom line, you should configure ACA to pull images only from approved registry and enable content trust for image integrity. Vulnerabilities can exist in container images, so continuous scanning is essential. How can you scan for vulnerabilities continuously? You should enable Microsoft Defender for Cloud to automatically scan container images in ACR. Or you use third-party tools like a Twistlock or Aqua Security for deep vulnerability scanning. Bottom line, you should integrate image scanning into your CI/CD pipeline and monitor running containers for newly discovered threats. Your containers need access to secrets like API keys and passwords, but storing them insecurely can lead to data breaches. How do you secure secrets? You store secrets in Azure Key Vault instead of hard coding them in container images. You use TLS encryption to protect secrets in transit, and you apply least privilege RBAC policies to restrict who can access sensitive data. Bottom line, you should ensure your containers never store secrets in plain text and enforce strict access control using Azure Key Vault. Containers introduce unique security risk, and you need to control which images are allowed in your environment. Let's unpack best practices for image security. You should scan images before deployment to catch vulnerabilities early. Only use approved base images to reduce attack surfaces, and enable image signing to verify integrity before deployment. Bottom line, you should restrict deployments to only trusted images and enforce image signing to maintain a secure chain of custody. If your container gets compromised, an attacker can inherit its privileges. You must minimize the risk by restricting what containers can do. What you should do in such cases? You run containers as non-root users whenever possible. You remove unnecessary privileges from container processes. And you block privilege mode to prevent attackers from escaping containers. Bottom line, you set up security policies that ensure containers operate with the lowest privileges possible. You can't protect what you can't see, so you must monitor your containers for suspicious activity. How should you track? You use Azure Monitor for Containers to track container performance and security insights. Microsoft Defender for Cloud will help you identify misconfiguration and threats in ACA. And Azure Container Logging records admin actions, failed logins, and network activity for auditing. Bottom line, you should enable logging and monitoring tools to quickly detect and respond to threats when you use ACA. You need to track all admin activity across Azure Container Apps, Azure Kubernetes Service, and Azure Container Registry for audit and compliance purpose. How do you maintain security compliance? You should use Azure Resource Logs to track who access your containers and when. You should enable Microsoft Defender for Cloud to generate security recommendations and integrate logs with Microsoft Sentinel for SIEM-based security analysis. Bottom line, you should audit administrative access regularly and keep logs for forensic investigations. Overall, Securing Azure Container Apps takes a layered approach. You should use private registry to ensure trusted images. Scan container images at every stage of the development lifecycle. Protect secrets and credentials using Azure Key Vault. Apply least privilege principles to reduce the attack surface. Segment network traffic to limit exposure. And lastly, monitor and log everything to detect anomalies early. By following these best practices, you reduce security risk and strengthen your ACA workloads against cyber threats.